They say Prince Edward Island is a peaceful escape, but beneath its red cliffs and quiet harbors lurk whispers of the dead, flickers of ghostly ships, and footsteps echoing from empty halls. What if I told you the most haunted places in Canada's smallest province might be hiding just around the corner from your next vacation? Stay close, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. One, the Haunted Mansion, Kensington. You arrive just before sunset. The towering silhouette of the Tudor-style mansion rises against the darkening sky. Its once elegant facade, now weathered and cracked like dry, cursed skin. You push open the creaking iron gate and instantly feel it. The air grows heavy, colder, as if the house itself knows you're here. They say Dr. Jack never left. Back in the 1800s, the man who built this place was no ordinary doctor. He dabbled in things that should have stayed buried: experiments on the dying, seances in the cellar, and whispered rituals in a language long forgotten. Then, one by one, the guests started disappearing. A traveling preacher, a widow with a scarred face, a child who wandered the halls looking for her cat. No one ever found their bodies, and yet the locals swore they heard voices behind the walls, cackling laughter in the attic, shadows pacing the windows, even when the mansion had been abandoned for decades. When it reopened as a haunted attraction, things turned darker than anyone expected. A staff member quit after finding scratch marks gouged into the inside of a locked closet. A tourist fainted during a tour after claiming she saw a man in a blood-stained lab coat standing behind her in a room no one else had entered. Some say Dr. Jack still conducts his experiments, waiting for curious souls like you to step inside. And now, you're standing at the threshold. Will you take that first step? 2. Charlottetown. Driving Park, Charlottetown. You think it's just an old racetrack, nothing more than fading bleachers, a few rusted gates, and the echo of hooves long gone. But the locals, they never stay after dark. Not here. You're walking along the edge of the track when you hear it. The distinct thunderous rhythm of galloping horses. You spin around. Nothing. Just wind. But the pounding continues, growing louder, closer. Yet there's no horse in sight, only silence, and your breath catching in your throat. This place has a history no one likes to talk about. In the early 1900s, a promising young jockey died in a violent crash. His horse panicked mid-race, veering off the track, slamming into the wooden rails. They buried him in a modest grave, but some say his spirit never left the finish line he never reached. Over the years, spectators and workers have reported the same thing: phantom hoofbeats in the dead of night, glimpses of a riderless horse sprinting past the empty stands, and an icy wind that circles the track, even on windless evenings. One janitor claimed he saw muddy hoof prints appear on the asphalt, fresh and steaming, as if some invisible beast had just thundered through. So, you keep walking, heartbeat matching the rhythm you swear you can still hear. And then, a whisper from behind the grandstand. Still racing, still racing. Would you dare to stay until the whistle blows? 3. Old Protestant Burying Ground, Charlottetown. You step through the rusted iron gate of the old Protestant burying ground, and the moment your foot touches the cracked stone path, the world seems to fall eerily silent. No wind, no birds, just the low hum of something. Watching. This cemetery dates back to the 1700s. Over 1,000 souls lie beneath your feet, but only a handful of their names remain legible on the weather-worn headstones. Time forgot them, but something else did not. Locals tell stories of the Lady in Black. They say she appears just after midnight, gliding between the graves, her face hidden beneath a dark veil. A student once dared to film her during a ghost walk. His camera malfunctioned, battery drained in seconds, and when he played the footage back later, all he heard was heavy breathing and a soft voice whispering, "Get out." Another visitor described feeling a sudden pressure on her chest while standing near a particular tombstone. She collapsed. Later, she discovered bruises in the shape of fingers, gripping her like someone had held her down. Some believe the spirits here were disturbed during renovations in the 1960s, when construction crews accidentally dug into unmarked graves. Since then, the sightings have only grown. Cold spots, shadow figures, children's laughter when no children are around. Now, as you stand alone in the fading light, a shadow flits across the far wall. You turn. Nothing. But the hairs on your neck rise, and you feel breath, warm and close. On your ear, would you walk deeper or run while you still can? 4. King's Playhouse, Georgetown. You arrive just before curtain call, the theater glowing warmly from the outside, but inside, there's a chill that slips beneath your skin. They say every stage has a ghost. This one, his name is Captain George. He was a soldier and an actor. Loved the theater more than life itself. In 1918, he collapsed backstage during a performance and never got back up. Since then, strange things have haunted every production. You're led into the velvet-seated auditorium. It feels normal until the lights flicker. A low creak echoes from the rafters above the stage. The guide laughs nervously, says it's just old wiring. But you catch the way her eyes dart toward the balcony, where no one is seated. And yet, a shadow sits. Actors have reported props vanishing mid-scene, scripts rewritten overnight, and even stage doors locking from the inside. One actress claimed she felt a cold hand grip hers as she bowed. She turned and saw no one, but the handprint stayed, icy and pale, for hours. The most chilling story during a school play. A child pointed to the wings and asked, "Who's the man in the uniform?" There was no man there, not among the living. They say Captain George isn't angry. He just wants the show to go on. But if he doesn't like your performance, you'll know. So, as the curtains rise and the lights dim, do you hear that applause from the empty balcony? Will you take a bow or be taken? 5. Scotch, Fort Cemetery, Mount Stewart. You arrive just as the fog rolls in, curling low over the crooked gravestones like fingers reaching from the underworld. The cemetery is quiet, too quiet. Even the trees stand still, as if holding their breath. This is where it happened. The story dates back to 1773. A man, some say a traveler, others a drunk, claimed he saw a ball of fire hovering over a grave late one night. Curious and foolish, he approached it and screamed, loud enough to wake half the town. By morning, they found his body sprawled over a tombstone, eyes wide open, face frozen in horror, as if he'd seen something beyond death. Since then, the fire has returned. Locals call it a spirit flame, a glowing orb that flickers across the cemetery grounds, vanishing the moment you get too close. And with it comes the whispers, distant, disjointed, pleading. You take a step deeper into the graveyard. The ground feels softer here, like it might give way beneath you. And then there it is, a flicker of orange light through the mist, darting between headstones like it's leading you somewhere. You follow. Of course you do, because something inside you wants to know. Suddenly, the light disappears. Everything goes still. And behind you, a breath. Not yours. A cold hand brushes your shoulder. You turn, heart pounding. But there's nothing there. Just an old grave, freshly disturbed. Would you keep walking, or has the flame found its next victim? 6. St Dunstons Basilica, Charlottetown. You stand beneath the towering spires of St Dunstons Basilica, its Gothic stonework glowing faintly in the moonlight. The doors creak open, and as you step inside, the scent of old incense and something colder older wraps around you like a shroud. This sacred place has a secret. They say that during World War I, a young priest received news of his brother's death mid-sermon. He kept preaching, voice steady, hands shaking until he collapsed at the altar, clutching the crucifix to his chest. He died right there. And some say he never left. The church is grand, beautiful yet cold, even in the summer. Choir members speak of footsteps pacing the upper gallery when no one's there. Organ keys pressed by unseen hands. Candles that relight themselves during midnight mass. One janitor quit after seeing a man in priest's robes silently praying in the empty pews, only for him to vanish into thin air when approached. A tourist snapped a photo of the altar and later found a pale face behind the pulpit's sunken eyes, mouth slightly open, staring directly into the lens. They call him the Watcher, and if you stay long enough, you might feel him too. Watching, judging. Now the bells ring, though no one pulled the rope. Your breath fogs, even though the night is warm. Do you kneel or run? Because not every spirit here offers blessings. 7. Lennox Island, Malpeque Bay. You cross the narrow causeway to Lennox Island, just as dusk settles in. The air is thick with salt and silence. The trees along the shoreline stand like sentinels watching, waiting. Locals warn you not to stray into the woods after dark, not because of animals, but because of it. They call it Bubble Face. No one knows exactly what it is. Some say it's the spirit of a child drowned in the bay. Others whisper it's something much older, something that was here before the Mi'kmaq people ever set foot on this land. Whatever it is, it hides in the trees, and it watches you. A group of campers once spent the night near the shoreline. Around midnight, they heard a soft pop, pop, pop like bubbles rising from water. Then, from the darkness, a shape emerged, small, hunched, with a swollen, translucent head that shimmered like it was filled with water. No eyes, no mouth, just the sound of breathing, wet and slow. One camper ran, the others froze. When they returned the next morning, their tent was slashed, and strange circular prints were pressed deep into the mud around it, prints that led straight into the bay, and vanished. Some say Bubbleface only shows itself when you're alone. Others say it follows you home. So now, as the trees close in and the tide pulls away from the shore, ask yourself, what did you just hear behind you? And will it let you leave this island alive? 8. Yo House, Tyne Valley. You step onto the porch of Yo House, its grand exterior fading beneath layers of peeling paint and ivy. Once the pride of a shipbuilding empire, this mansion now stands frozen in time, and something else is trapped here with it. The moment you enter, it greets you. A draft that moves against the grain of the air. A toy dog, Wheelie, resting quietly on the hallway floor. Though no children have lived here in over a century, it watches. During restoration, workers reported footsteps echoing through empty rooms, tools vanishing only to reappear in locked cabinets, and most chilling of all, an old music box playing by itself at 3:03 a.m. every night, without fail. Volunteers have seen shadows dart past mirrors. One even claimed she felt a small hand slip into hers while cleaning the nursery, only to turn and find the room empty. When she tried to leave, the door slammed shut behind her and wouldn't budge for 5 full minutes. Visitors speak of a little girl dressed in a faded blue dress, always near the staircase. She doesn't speak. She just stares. Sometimes. Wheelie moves when she does. They say the Yeo family's youngest daughter died in this house, and she never really left. Now, you're in her home. The floorboards creak above you, slow, steady steps. No one else is here, or at least, no one living. Would you keep climbing those stairs because someone is waiting at the top? 9. West Point Lighthouse Inn, O'Leary. The sea crashes in the distance as you approach the West Point Lighthouse, its stark black and white tower cutting into the twilight sky. It looks picturesque until you realize you're the only one here, or so you think. This lighthouse is still in operation, but at night, it belongs to him. William MacDonald was its first keeper, devoted and proud. Legend says he died suddenly during a storm, refusing to leave his post as the waves pounded the shore. His body was found at the base of the stairs, soaked and cold, yet the light above still burned. Guests who spend the night in the Lighthouse Inn tell the same story. Footsteps pacing the tower, doors unlocking by themselves, and cold, wet footprints trailing from the bottom of the staircase to the keeper's room, where no one has checked in. One woman woke to the sound of knocking at her door. When she opened it, no one was there, but a logbook had been placed on the floor. Inside, a page had been written in perfect cursive, "The sea never sleeps. Neither do I." It was signed W. MacDonald, dated over 100 years ago. Others have reported seeing a flicker of light out at sea. And then, moments later, a figure in an oilskin coat standing by the cliff's edge, staring toward the waves, lantern in hand, before vanishing in a blink. Now the wind howls louder. The light above begins to spin. Would you dare to sleep beneath it, knowing the keeper is still keeping watch? 10. Ghost ship of Northumberland Strait. You're standing on the shore, the wind sharp and salty, when you see it a ship ablaze, sailing silently across the dark waters. No screams, no crew, just fire licking the sails, glowing orange against the black sea. And yet, the flames don't burn. The ship doesn't sink. It just keeps sailing. You've just seen the ghost ship of the Northumberland Strait. For over 200 years, sailors, fishermen, even entire villages along Prince Edward Island's coast have reported the same impossible sight, a massive three-masted schooner engulfed in flames, appearing before violent storms. Some call it an omen. Others say it's a ship damned to sail forever, its crew cursed by a betrayal that ended in fire. In 1900, a group of fishermen claimed they rowed toward the burning ship, desperate to help. As they approached, it vanished. Instantly. The sea was calm, cold, and empty. One lighthouse keeper wrote in his logbook appeared again tonight. No sound, just fire. It watched us. Some believe the ship tries to reach shore, reliving its final voyage again and again. And if it ever does, something terrible may follow. Tonight, the sky grows darker, the wind shifts, and out across the strait, a flicker of flame rises from the waves. Do you turn away, or wait to see if the ship comes for you next? So, would you spend a night in a haunted lighthouse, follow the ghostly glow of a burning ship, or walk alone through a graveyard where the dead still whisper? Prince Edward Island may look peaceful, but now you know its shadows hold centuries of secrets. Which haunted place would you dare to visit first? Let us know in the comments, if you're brave enough.